3 for 3 is produced by Impact Networking, hosted at the state-of-the-art Unified Support Operations Center in Lake Forest, Illinois. To find out more about the company, schedule a tour of our facilities, or speak to a representative, visit us on the web at impactmybiz.com.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dick Stockton, and welcome to 3 for 3, an inside look into the careers of icons from many walks of life who have made history, they've broken down barriers, and they continue to bring change in their community. I'm joined today by Bill Jacobs, the Impact Network's Chief Diversity Officer, and a very special guest, John Calipari, distinguished, renowned head basketball coach. We can go on, and we will at some point during this. And John, before we get into many things, including the thoughts of the new DePaul Athletic Director, Dwayne Peavy, we have to touch on a real-life tragedy. In less than 3 weeks ago, 19-year-old Terrence Clark, who played for you last season and declared for the NBA draft, was killed after suffering injuries in a car accident in Los Angeles. I know that you haven't gotten, if ever, over the shock.
No, when you're a coach or a father, you're supposed to go first. And so this isn't natural. And this shock, it shook our team, our players. All the players went up to the funeral. I went out to LA just knowing what mom, Osmond would be, where she would be. But there's this going to take a while to get by. And for us as a program, for me as a coach, as a father of three, it was just, all I can tell you was awful. The service in Boston was really good but exhausting because everybody spoke with emotion. But I feel for his family. I'm in touch with them all the time, trying to figure out what else can we do to help. But there are no words, to be honest with you. There was, what do you say?
I guess it's the worst thing that could, happen to any family, but to a coach with a team to see that happen.
Yeah, but it's, you're talking about a mother who just lost her baby. In their family, what you learned was, whether it was mom's side or father's side, in that community, in the city of Boston. I was walking around Boston and people were stopping me saying, "I'm sorry for your loss." That's the impact he had. NBA players, Hamidou Diallo, that was like his little brother. He was distraught. But it's, it's just, you just don't want to see stuff like this. And then having to deal with it with my team, mostly 18, 19, 20-year-olds, it's not something they've dealt with. That's probably, I didn't ask them all, but probably one of the first times someone close to them passed away.
Sad time indeed. So we're going to change gears here. Now, your consideration and concern for the kids, particularly the minority kids who want to reach their dreams to the next level, has been so apparent in your pioneering way of assembling your teams. There was criticism about it, and a lot of the critics have followed you to a T. We know who they are. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, when we did the seeing young men go directly after a year with us to the league, it starts with a DeJuan Wagner that he came in, and I tore the scholarship up and said, "Look, you don't have a choice. You're not coming back. You're no worse than the fourth pick in the draft." And what happens is he has colitis and he has to have surgery. If he had had that with us, he never would have got a pro contract. So he was able to go in as a rookie, and as you remember, Dick, he was pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And he had unbelievable upside. And then that injury, that illness set him back. And then when I go to Kentucky, 5 players in the first round, 4 of them freshmen, everybody said this is ruining the game. Well, it wasn't my rule, but I had to be about these kids, and I couldn't talk kids into coming back that should go. And if you're looking at the 4 of them, DeMarcus has had major injuries, but John and Eric and Patrick are still playing. They're still in the league. I mean, what? And then the next year, with them all leaving and some other players, we get to a Final Four. And then 4 of those guys go. And we win a national title the next year.
Yeah.
So it was, you found out it never hurt us as a program or the university or the athletic department. We were fine, the kids were fine. But now, Dick, these new rules change things.
Right.
We have an advantage because we built new teams every year. But now every coach is going to have to do this. You're going to have to build trust in a short period of time and then build on it day to day. 10 years ago, we didn't have to deal with this social media to this level. So you had the kids' attention. Now, transfer without penalty, name, image, and likeness. The G League doing stuff. Now I hear there's a high school league. They have to trust us. We have to add value. They have to look at us and say, we can do this. But how you do your job is changing right before our eyes again.
Right. And you have to be flexible with it. Now, for those that, for the record, John Calipari led the University of Kentucky to the NCAA championship in 2012. He's in the Hall of Fame, Coach of the Year 3 times. The list goes on and on. And, John, let's go back to Moon Township, please, in Pittsburgh, when you were a point guard, a hopeful point guard, and you were limited, I guess, and you turned to coaching. How did that all happen? Tell me how that developed.
Why would you say I was limited? But first of all, let's go back to this.
Because you weren't on any All-American.
The New Jersey Nets fired me. So let's talk about my coaching career, too. I got fired.
We're not talking that.
But as a high school player, I was a gym rat. Loved the game, was always in the gym. Never had NBA aspirations. I knew I wasn't that good. And I always used to say I was small, but I was slow. And so, but the whole idea was to get a college scholarship because, like many of us in Pennsylvania, Western PA, our families grew up either through the coal mines or the mills or and your parents were high school educated and you were the first to go to college. I mean, that story wasn't just mine. That was most of Western PA. And by being able to get a scholarship, be able to play Division I basketball, that challenge, but it made me think bigger that, wow, there is another light out here. There is something that looks different than where I grew up. Where I grew up in Moon Township, Coriopolis, Tommy Richards and Joe Frizz were the 2 players that were older than me that were the stars. One went to Pitt, one went to West Virginia. But everybody was the same. There was the whole neighborhood we grew up the same way. Still stay in touch with a bunch of my high school buddies, and we laugh about how we grew up. We thought our houses were big. We had 3 bedrooms and 1 bath, all small, and a living room, dining area. And if you had a garage, you really had some money. And it was usually a 1-car garage. But it was, who would want anything different? I mean, our families, our mothers, our fathers, it was a strong bond.
Yeah. Was there someone who played a pivotal role in your deciding that, you saw something bigger than just, being on a team and guiding people and helping people before you went as far as you did?
Well, again, I've been blessed in so many ways, but when I was in high school, all the coaches, football, baseball, basketball, were Italian, all of them. So I thought, I guess I'm supposed to coach. I'm Italian. I guess all the Italians, from Bill Sacco to Skip Totala to Ray Bazzetti to Mark Capuano, they were all Italians. And so I grew up saying, you know what? I want to be a high school coach and a teacher. That's what I wanted to be. And when I went to college, it changed a little bit. And then I got lucky enough to get into college coaching, and then I thought about the NBA. And as I mentioned, I had a great run and had a lot of fun, went to the playoffs, had a chance to beat the Chicago Bulls, played them great. One game was in overtime, and then got fired. But have stayed in touch with those guys. So, I've been on a blessed, fortunate path. I don't think I'm better than anybody. I work at this. I try to be about the kids. But it changes, and I'm trying to stay on top of it, this next change. I mean, last year we had 10 new players. We had no summer, no fall. Thought we could get it together as a team. There was no way. We had too tough a schedule. We were really close. I thought we could pull it together at the end and get in and sneak in and then do something crazy, which we had done a few other years, but it never came to that. So I'm right now, my whole mindset is team building. Our team is starting to get together now. We have a couple transfers coming in, which we needed. We had some players put their name in the draft and go pro. One player transferred. So 2 players did. So now I'm into this summer has got to be team building, mental preparation, physical preparation, and getting them in the frame of mind you need to be in to win at the level we play.
How do you do that? How do you say, I've got to get them thinking as a team and all that? Easier said than done?
Yeah, but here's what it is. It's first of all, they got to train and sweat and suffer and grow together. Each of them can be on a different path, but they're together in all the stuff that they have to do to prepare. It's kind of like, quote, boot camp. And the summer, some guys are trying to lose weight, some guys are trying to gain weight. Everyone's trying to master their craft to get better. And then the biggest thing they're getting away from as basketball players, not enough pickup basketball. We played pickup growing up. We didn't have workout guys. And I keep trying to tell guys, the cones don't have arms. Like that other guy you're going against is going to have arms. The broom doesn't jump and isn't physical. You got to play 5-on-5. 4-on-4 is okay, but 5-on-5, so spacing of the court really matters. Learning to play with other players, not just in a workout situation. You have to play this game. So one of the things we'll do is 4 days a week, you got to play pickup. And it's got to be captain, player driven. And you got to have a ball with it, but you got to compete. You got to look where these kids are trying to go. Nothing is given. It won't be given. Either you'll earn it or someone will take it from you. That's how it is. Your team is not going to be, you're the only guy, everything run through you, you take all the shots. No rookie going into that league is a volume shooter. And if they are, their team will win 10 games out of 82. So you got to go in as a basketball player, knowing how to guard, knowing how to fight for what you want, to be physical, to have mental toughness. What about the ups and downs? I got to see you fail so you understand that you can get by this. If everything's the next step up and it's individual workouts, and then all of a sudden you get punched in the nose and knocked down and you're bleeding a little bit, you got to be able to tasted your blood and got back up and started swinging and saying, I'm not staying down. That's part of what I believe happens with us at Kentucky. Every game we play is someone's Super Bowl. Every game is sold out. Most of them, Dick, are on CBS, ESPN. They're all I think last year we were on CBS so much. I said, why are we on? We're not that good. And they said, because people will watch. I said, yeah, they want to watch us lose. But it is, that's what this is. How about this one? Dick, as you know, there's no crack they can hide down in.
Right.
Not on the court. You're on a stage with no cracks. And whatever happens to you, you're out there and you can't hide from it. Owning your game. Stats don't lie and the film convicts. You have to be a self-evaluator to really make it now.
You know,
because everybody else is telling you what you want to hear.
Right, yeah.
Can you self-evaluate?
So this was developed over the years by you, correct? I mean, this wasn't, when you were at Kansas, you were picking up things, and that was a key point for you. But this was something that was learned over time, an approach learned over time?
Well, Dick, how blessed could I be that I had a chance to work, first of all, with Ted Owens, but then Larry Brown, who's become my mentor. I just talked to him yesterday. The things that I learned during that time, the basic fundamentals of this game, and I'm not even talking passing and catching. If you care about kids and you're genuine, you'll always have a job. That was told to me. I was 21, 22 years old. You will always have a job. Are you adding value? Can you coach a kid to make him better so he feels good about himself? I tell the story of coaching at Kansas with Coach Brown and coaching guys where you're working with them, and if they did something in the game that you worked with them on, the guys on the bench would touch you and say, hey, man, there's your stuff. There's not a better feeling in the world than that. And so I learned at an early age what coaching, it's not putting on a suit and going to the game, what coaching is, to get them to play together, to get them to be unselfish, to get them to defend as a group. I mean, basic fundamentals. It isn't trying to trick them with plays. You're trying to teach young people how to play the game. You can stop plays. You can't stop players that know how to play. And that has been the mantra for us. How do we teach them? The dribble drive, what did I do 15 years ago when we brought it? And now everybody runs it better than we run it. But the dribble drive came about from just saying, I think this is a better way of playing for these players.
Yeah.
Someone said, you won 75% of your games. Why would you change? What, are you crazy? Well, we won 90% of our games playing with the dribble drive. And it helped our recruiting. It was easier to coach. You ready what you would say all the time?
Yeah. You know,
take your man. Take him.
John, I wanted Bill to jump in here and talk a little bit his specialty diversity, which of course you've written the book about, really, with the way you have recruited and your plan for these guys to reach their goals, and also the technology now that has changed. Bill, so why don't you ask John a little bit about that?
First of all, John, it's such a pleasure to have an opportunity to speak with you. And your guy, Chris, was just a great guy in setting this up, and we're just so honored to have you. Now, when it comes to diversity, how do you apply diversity in your basketball strategy?
Bill, let me give you my background first. When I grew up, my grandmother lived in a house that was 3 feet from another house. That house, the railroad tracks, there was a Dairy Queen right next to her, and then there was a railroad tracks, and then the river, Ohio River. And the Harleys were the family next to my grandmother. The Harleys were a black family. So I grew up a little bit different for my age, that age group. When there were the riots in '68, Coriopolis was a little bit crazy. And my dad was leaving my grandmother's, and Mr. Harley looked at us and said, Vince, don't worry, I got your mom. And that was my, racial introduction, so to speak, like, okay. But what you find out when you're in this sport, it's truly a merit-based sport. It is. Players know who can play. They know who can coach. You can't fool anybody. The politics in this, not there. This is merit-based. What do you want? Take it. You know what I tell kids, Bill, that come with me? You're betting on yourself. And if you want something guaranteed, there's no guarantees. If you think there's an easy path, there isn't. So I think being honest and, as I build a staff, Bill, I mean, I'm looking at people who I'm comfortable with, who can help these young people and help me do what I'm trying to do for them. So again, the background for me is I'm 9 years old, walking. Well, I was a little bit. When was I 9 years old? I was young, walking away with my dad and Mr. Harley saying that I got your grandma. So a little bit different.
Well, just what you have said earlier, since we've been speaking with you, has really charged me up. It makes me feel invincible.
That's why he's a great recruiter.
So I can understand why many people would love playing for you, because I think you bring out the best in them, which is fantastic.
Well, we're trying. I got to throw this in, Bill. This is for you and Dick. Last summer, when everything broke loose, I was sitting in New Jersey saying, what can we do? And I was going to do something at the university, and someone said to me, why don't you look at that and try to scale it and get other coaches involved? And we started an initiative, a minority initiative, and we called it the McLendon Minority Initiative. What you find out in college athletics, and Dick, you know more than anybody else, that you will say there's not enough black head coaches or coaches of color. Well, there's not enough ADs of color. Well, there's not enough ADs or assistant or associate ADs of color that can then become ADs. So what we did was we started this program where the coaches would fund it. We got a group that would be able to go through all these applications where we would fund positions at our university. At our University of Kentucky, we funded 5 positions, but most schools were funding 1 or 2 positions. We got 31 future leaders, men and women of all colors, and I'll tell you what, stars. Now we're trying to get it from 31, let's get it to 80. Many were hired by the university they went to, they trained under. Many went into, Roe worked with us. She is now in Charlotte with their NBA team. So it is something that we coaches are all proud of. And it was football coaches, women's coaches, the men's coaches. We had like 80 coaches. The virus made it scaled back to 31, but it is something I'm as proud of. Tommy Amaker helped me lead it, so it was he and I, and Frank Martin helped us, and all of a sudden now you got the Pac-12 said we're all in, every coach.
That's great.
The Big 12 the same. I mean, it's we know there's an issue and we can help deal with that.
Well,
but that's something that we tried to do, Bill.
Brings me to our final question, about the new athletic director at DePaul, who you worked with and you knew very well, helped you with scheduling and so many things, including social media, I might add, from what we learned. Dwayne Peavy. I know you're the big thing you said: trust, listener, creative. I know you use those terms in discussing Dwayne.
Well, Dwayne is my friend more than just a colleague. Somebody I would trust my children with. Very talented, very forward thinking, would take my ideas and make them better. I wouldn't give him credit for everything, but many of my ideas, he made them better. The social media was him. He said, do you want to do this Twitter stuff? I said, what the heck is it? Now we have 1.7 million Twitter followers, Facebook followers, 800,000, Snapchat, and I've had to hire people to oversee it. Now, nothing leaves my platforms that I don't either do it myself or look at stuff and okay it. But that was all Dwayne. He was involved more than just scheduling. He was included in everything I did, from camps to recruiting, to ideas about recruiting, to staff. When we had to build out stuff, fundraising, new locker rooms, new practice facility, new housing, all the stuff that you have to have. He was in the middle of the Rupp Arena improvements. So DePaul got a star. And again, he doesn't have a magic wand. What he does is he gathers people together and then says to them, how can I help you? That's what he'll do to the coaches. What do you need us to do? How can we help you be successful? What else do you think? They may come to him and he may say, you know, that's good, but why don't we do this? This is better. It's all the stuff you want in a leader. And like I said, he and I, we were talking when he was with us 3 times a day, sometimes 4 times a day. I may call him at midnight and he'd pick up the phone. What happened? But I enjoyed his company and I trust him and I know how talented he is.
You know, in talking with him, I felt, going back to his beginnings in Alabama, that he was meant for this job, that this was a job that had his name on it from the very beginning, that he was meant to be an athletic director or a commissioner or whatever, and I think that it's a natural movement for him. John, I want to thank you for being with us. Very enlightening. We wish you the best of luck. You know, you've been a model of the sport for so many years. I, of course, have appreciated you for decades. Thank you for joining us.
Nick, Bill, thank you.
Thank you. So that's the story here on 3 for 3. The great John Calipari, the head coach of the University of Kentucky, with us. Hope you enjoyed it. So long.